Now that it's turned and we're starting to see prices come down, is now the time to buy. Yes, home prices are on the decline in Ventura County. Yes, interest rates are coming down as well. Yes, quantitative easing is on the docket. But should you buy a house now? Should you buy a house now? Is now the time? Now that it's turned and we're starting to see prices come down, is now the time to buy. 2024 was definitely that inflection point. It kind of hit its peak, kind of hit its apex, really slowed down. Lowest number of transactions in 2023. We get into 2025 and it's the seller's wake-up call. They're doing reduction of prices. They're giving concessions. Right now, it feels like I can't sell a house unless we take the offer as is. Any sort of counter, bye-bye. See you later. We're going on to the next one. 3 times on one property. Does that mean it's time to buy? Do buyers really have the time? Do buyers really have the power now? Or is it going to get even better? So do buyers have the upper hand right now? Or is it going to get even better? If in fact the inventory hit 210 in the spring into summer and it peaked there and was there for about 4 months, it reduced now seasonally, of course. But if inventory continues to climb higher than that mark, are we going to see prices come down even more? Are we going to see the properties that didn't sell, that went withdrawn, that went on hold, that went canceled? Are we going to see all those come back as actives with all the new inventory and have this surplus of inventory, which kind of never happens in California? And with the interest rates coming down and all that kind of doom and gloom from the JOLTS report and the Fed report talking about job losses, will the economy be hurting enough that the buyers just are disappearing and that price continues to plummet inch, down? Is that the trend? Or are all of these things a catalyst for an evening out of the market, a normalizing of the market, and signaling that now is the time to take a transaction, that now is the time to sell to repurchase? We're going to get into that right now. So yes, it is true that we've been tracking data that in 2025, home prices have been strategically coming down. However, when they're priced correctly at market value or a little under, they're going pretty quick. There is an absorption happening, an exuberance happening amongst buyers that are out in the field. They're having more choices, they're getting concessions, and they're getting reductions in price. Closings happen every day. But what are we going to see going forward into 2026? Are we going to see a pullback in inventory, or do you think we're going to see a surplus? I have a feeling from the calls I'm getting, from coordinating with other agents that are in my marketplace, other agents in both of our offices, as our Sotheby's offices are expanding and really starting to take over the 805 area, we're really getting down to this data and understanding what's moving the needle. We've got several markets. We've got a very entry level, which is the 5-6 market, which is mostly condos, and then we've got your starter to mid home and some nice homes, all priced between 8 and 1.2, depending on where that location is. That 1.2 is going to get you either a fixer, if it's prime location, it's going to get you a pretty nice home if it's in one of the more moderate suburbs like Oxnard, Ventura, East End, Ventura, or Camarillo. You still get a nice house for that price. And then we're getting into the luxury. Luxury really kind of starts right around 2, but we're seeing some people get in at 1.8. We're seeing some people get $3 million properties for 2.5. We're seeing some people get $4.5, $5 million properties for 3.5. The luxury market is really pulling down right now. We've got a surplus in luxury we have for about 1.5 years now. And if we see even more properties or any distressed properties in the luxury market, we're going to see a huge shift. That's my prediction for 2026. However, that mid-market where we're seeing most of the sales in all of Ojai, Ventura, Camarillo, and Oxnard, it's that 800 to 1.2 range. That's where we're seeing the majority of the sales. We're seeing where the buyers and sellers in that range are strong enough economically. They have their wealth. They have either a down payment, big strong down payment, and big incomes, or they're selling to repurchase. So they're very strong in that area. The tougher area is actually the lower area, the people qualifying for 5 or 6. It's a little tougher right there. It's like every penny counts, the rates count, concessions count, getting seller credit. A lot of times people will write in that range with seller credit automatically. So should you buy? It really depends on where you're at. If you're shopping the luxury market at all, heck yes, this is the time, because they've already seen their reset. That started in 24 and 25, and this 26 is the bottoming out before it ramps up. Whatever type of liquidity or kick up that we're gonna see, any sort of weakness in 2026, for the luxury buyers in that area, they're gonna be repurchasing the growth of wealth. So we know they're gonna 4x or 10x in the next few years to follow that, and we're gonna see luxury just go blasting. So if you're a luxury buyer, by all means, get right into it. Call me up, call our agent. If you have questions, you can call me. If you're not working with an agent, call me, of course. And we can team up with one of our Sotheby's agents if it's, Santa Barbara or, somewhere else in the state or the country. But for instance, if you're in that 800 to 1.2 area, this is a very, very competitive area. There's a lot of people selling those 2 million, 3 million, and they're moving down into that price point, because you can still get quality and you still get location in that price point. You've got the people selling the 5, 6, trying to move up and get that bigger house, get out of the condo. And then you've got multi-generational there. You've got a lot of investors there. Meet Kevin's house hack just closed on a property like under $1 million. That's in a neighborhood at 1.2 plus. It was a really great buy. Boots on the ground, I heard about that one, found out about that. So there's great opportunities there. So if you're mid-market, yeah, you should be buying too. The one where you might be a little more kind of like, let's wait and see what happens, is if you can actively save more money than you're spending every single month, especially when it comes to your living expense. But if your living expense is going up and you're considering buying in the 5, 6 or in the 7 or 8 area, I think you should buy there too. Because if your living expense is going up, it's going to keep climbing. So instead of you saving, you're going to be depleting that income. So even if your income goes up, you're going to be spending more on your living cost. So if you're able to kind of stretch and get into something now, use that 30-year fixed as an advantage. If rates come down, you can refinance. I use that word if, not lightly, they're likely to. Not much, but maybe in the 4s. Maybe you can do a buy down at some point, but you can at least get in, make your payment, secure that. Because the thing is a lot of times people are thinking just a couple years down the road. Imagine in increments of 5 or 10 years. In 10 years, with all the inflation we know we're gonna see, with the money printing that goes on, you're gonna be insulated with your payment. If you're able to make a payment on a $500,000 condo or a $600,000 condo, it's gonna be much easier in 5 years, and it'll be really easy in 10 years because you're fixing that cost. We'll see wage increases go up, and then that'll be not such a strain on you. So that would be time to go for it. Now, when you shouldn't is if you're not really able to save right now and it's really tight, yeah, there's a chance we can see the fall of the fall, which is gonna be 2026 fall. So if you literally wait through what I call the pre-spring fling, which is gonna be in February, all the properties are trying to beat the seller's market and trying to get their inventory out and sold into contract before they go into spring. Everyone wants to go in the spring because you got a shot at selling in the spring, and then you got a shot at selling in the summer. If you miss it, if you mess up and you price too high, you didn't prepare correctly, you've got a second chance. We like to do 10 out of 10 listings where we hit 10 points out of 10 so that everything's beautiful, marketing, photos, our advertising, open houses, everything's early and on point and on schedule so that we nail it out of the park. That's how we like to do it. But I picked up some, listings where they're expired, so they've kind of been shot in the foot and we're trying to recover them. So if they take longer, what people want to do is they want to get on in the spring and then they want to be able to sell in the summer. Now here's what happens in the fall. Everything that didn't sell in pre-spring, spring, or summer is the leftovers. Now you can wait for the leftovers, but it's kind of like going to a swap meet where all the good stuff got picked up already. So what you can do is you can use the advantage of knowing that interest rates are coming down, prices are coming down, and quantitative easing is the one that can really bring down, because when they do the quantitative easing, that's when the Fed actually buys from the Treasury and they're able to get the bond market to play with the mortgage rate. That really helps the mortgage rates go down. Not necessarily the Fed's cutting, but the purchasing of those Treasury bonds. When the government does that, that's when we see the mortgage interest rate come down. There was heavy talk about that right before the end of the year, so we think likely that's going to happen. So you have a lot of things going in your favor, so there's this rebound and there's going to be an exuberance in the market. So it's a great idea to be in there for that. If you wait another 6 months and you wait till like the end of summer, you might have missed the best deals. And I even think February would be one of the best times to be shopping. You've got plenty of January, plenty of time now to get pre-qualified. Shoot a line in. I could recommend 3 lenders that are local here that are excellent. Should you buy? Yeah. If you're pre-qualified, you know what you can afford. And I like to get pre-underwritten when we're going into contract. When you can tell a buyer's agent that you're pre-underwritten, it's so much stronger than if you have a lender you've never worked before. They don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. And like they say they're qualified, there's a letter of intent, there's some good evidence there, but you make a couple phone calls, they haven't been pushed through at all. You want to have a lender that's going to push it through, get you pre-underwritten, so that you're almost like you're like the same as cash. As long as the contingencies are met with the home, you're buying. It's the bank's cash. At the end of the day, it's the net that's going to be attractive to the seller. You can say, I'm a cash buyer and be 50 or 100K under. Well, that doesn't help the seller much. They know they can close, but it's not as attractive as a loan that's pre-underwritten. Is much more attractive because they're going to get what they want to net at a better price. So if you want to buy or thinking about buying, we are seeing buyers get properties under contract for under list price or under ask, and as well as getting concessions during the deal, which would be, credits towards, in lieu of, credit towards closing costs in lieu of, repairs that need to be made, or those repairs getting done. There's lots of ways to do it. You can get some of the repairs, particularly like something like termite. You can get your termite paid for, get that termite work done and paid for out of escrow, and you can get a credit. So when you ask for repairs to get done and credit, you can really help push the limits of what normally would keep you under, a $10,000 or $20,000 concession. So knowing how to serve it up and make it work for the seller, that's what it's all about. It's about, compromising and making a deal. I think there's gonna be lots of good deals to make. This is likely our bottoming out. If you wanna play the waiting game, we're New Year's Day today. You might be watching this post January 9th, but January 9th is an inflection point. So if you are watching it post January 9th, pay attention to what had happened in the past. Look it up and see what that data was. So what's supposed to happen in the future is that data is not good, such as the JOLTS reports, the jobs report being reported bad. And here's why the January 9th is such a big deal. Because they've got 3 months of data because of the government shutdown. That's delayed data. So had that data already been out, we might have already been pulling interest rates down. So the more delayed we are on making a move to hedge a negative from happening, kind of the more likely it is to happen, the worse off we are. So then we really got to do it. We really got to cut a lot. And it feels like that's what's been brewing this whole year, this first year with Trump, be it the tariffs, be it the shutdown, be the immigration, with pulling labor from the labor force, a lot of negatives to kind of create pain to justify a money print. And that's what I think we're going to see, is we're going to see a new money print coming out in 2026 or 27. We're going to see some sort of a reset. And the trouble is this is going to be very different than the last reset. The last reset happened because it created deflation, whereas this one was because of inflation. So they're trying to even out and balancing out from opposite ends. Theirs was deflationary. This one is going to be inflationary. So we are technically seeing some signs of deflation, which at the end of the day isn't so bad, but when you take liquidity away so much, your spending goes, and when spending goes, The US economy, that's what it's based on. It's based on spending. We got rid of the gold standard. So while we have some great movements, both environmental minimalism and trying to be less of a consumer and more of a steward of the environment, our economy depends, it really depends on people spending that money. So that evidence is going to come out with the JOLTS report, the CPI report on January 9th. So if you're watching this post January 9th, look back at that moment, see where you are now, and see what has transpired. So we're going to see probably one of two directions. If it's really good news, we're probably going to kick off in this good environment, and it's going to stay the same. Don't see rates going up, but we see this is the environment. Well, we'll know. We want to wait and see what happens. Wait and see. Well, what are we waiting for? This is what we're waiting for. Waiting to see what happens. Is it going to stay the same, or is it going to get better? So that's the whole thing about, should I buy a house right now? If it's going to get better, and it seems like so if things are good, it could get better, because if things are good, we're not going to cut those interest rates. We're going to see more price cuts on homes if inflation's there. So that's the big number we want to see. If inflation goes up and the economy gets good reports, prices are going to come down. However, that same liquidity, that amount of money that you're going to be paying is going to be absorbed somewhere, either in the interest rate or the price. So if it's bad news and they start doing the quantitative easing and they have to put liquidity back into the market, they're going to cut these interest rates. And then all of a sudden you're going to be able to afford that price that it currently is at. So that's the big thing. A lot of buyers, because we don't buy houses every day. You get an interest rate on a car. Car market's been dead for a couple of years. Low or high interest, on a credit card for, stuff that you might get at Best Buy or on Amazon. It's not that much of a strain. You don't measure as much. But when you're measuring consuming a house, for 30 years, the interest rates really matter. They make such a difference. Some of the people that had gotten into loans at the 7 and 8s, they're going to be paying 3x what someone got in at the 2s and the 3s. And this is per month. That's a lot of liquidity that's going to the bank. So we've kind of established affordability, and we're seeing a major flat line with that. But where is it gonna come off? Is it gonna come off on the price, or is it gonna come off in the interest rate? So that's what you want to look for. It's January 9th. Pay attention to what happens then. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of inventory hit the market before January 9th, but I think we're gonna see a lot of inventory start to hit in February, early February, for the people that are ready. For those sellers that want to beat March, by March and April, we're gonna see a good amount of inventory. We're gonna see last year's canceled and expireds come to the market with agents that know what they're doing, if that was you, and we're going to see things priced correctly. We're going to see them move. We're going to see sellers exit, because the good news, why sellers would be willing to take even more of a cut on their sale is because they're getting a cut on their purchase. If they can get a better price and a better interest rate on their purchase, they can make it palatable. And when people need to move, it needs to move. It becomes less about the bottom line and more about what they want. At the end of the day, no one lives forever, and we want to get on with our lives. You guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, just shoot out a call or a text, and we'll go at the pace that's good for you. Talk to you soon.